Charles W. Buckler is 181 Elliott Road, Centerville. Everything was pretty special. I was working hard all the time. I kept going. When I got married, my wife says I never took a day off until I was 35. In Comaquid, and a big home belonged to some very wealthy people, the Rumaniers. He was Dean of St. Paul's in Boston, and she was his wife, of course, she was part of the Fruit of the Loom family, I understand. They had a very wealthy, I guess. We lived, on quite a big farm there, so there was always something to do. You had to bring in firewood, you had to do this or that. There was a lot to do on a big farm like that. It was a nice farm. She was from England, of course, and well, Jersey. And then my father, he originally, I guess, his family came from Newfoundland, and then they went to Nova Scotia, and that's where. And he didn't go there, but as a young boy, he was 10 or 12 years old. They couldn't afford to feed him, and they put him on a fishing boat as a cabin boy or something. And he went along for years on different boats, I guess, and he came into Boston on the, there was a famous ship afterwards or before, Mauritania, I think, and he got off in Boston because the captain said, on the shores of Boston, there's a home for all. Here we are. But he enjoyed he got off in Boston, and he was delivering ice for Boston Ice, and my mother was in the kitchen at the house where he delivered the ice, and that's how they met. Because the people built a big house in Comaquid, big estate they had over there. They had 65 acres and horses and cattle, and they grew every vegetable you could imagine. There was a lot of people that worked there, and it might have been 20 people or more, and everybody could take whatever vegetables they wanted for the year. Everything was, the turnips were put in the ground, and everything was done. I don't know how they knew how to do that, but they did. And the people that worked there was a lot of those workmen from West Barnstable, the plumbers and stuff. They worked there all the time. There was a lot to do. Well, they had big fields under irrigation and everything even back then. They had a pipe that went overhead, the sprinklers come out. And there was a big farm, big. Ooh. They had 3 or 4 cows all the time, pigs, whatever, all that stuff. Sheep. We had one of everything, turkeys, all that, everything you could imagine. That's when, of course, when school was over, you had to go home and do chores, Not that I got paid for it, but everybody had to do something. My sister polished the silver, things like that every day, One sister made the butter. I remember that. As a kid, every time you came in, you were supposed to bring in a log of wood as you grew up, because there were so many fireplaces to keep going. Not like push the button today. Barnstable Village School on top of the hill there. And there was, Mr. Cornish was the principal. I remember him, and Miss Gilchrist was there. And I think there was a Mrs. Burris, but I'm not sure. It seems so, that's what it was. Yeah. Just at the end of the war, 45 or 6. Well, that was quite a change. you know. It wasn't at first because went back home right after school. When you seventh grade, I guess it was, eighth, you know. But when you got a little bit older, you'd walk down Main Street of Hyannis and walk home. You had to walk all the way across Yarmouth Road. There was no after-school buses and stuff like that a lot of times, you know. I enjoyed that walk. It was a good walk, and Mr. Rosary had a little store on Yarmouth Road, and after a while, every time there was a glass of water on the end of his counter for me. He was a nice man.
Yep.
And after that, of course, John Rosio, his son, we were friends all through high school, right up even till the day he died. We were friends. Bought land from him and different things, and very nice guy, John. Oh, I played in the band for quite a while. That was about it. Clarinet. Took lessons from Mr. Griffiths, and he was the band man, and we stayed right there. Didn't do very well at it. Well, of course, at that time, you know, the streets were two ways, and there seemed to be jammed up with traffic quite a lot, but it got along, everything went along pretty smooth. Of course, the things coming from like Comaquid, you never go to a restaurant over there. And then here you could go to a restaurant or at the drugstore, get some real good food and things, and that was quite a change from living on the north side. Well, there wasn't much to that. You used to, you know, you get somebody delivered the newspapers at the end of the lane, I don't know who, and then we would, you know, put them on your shoulder and you'd run up and down the street as fast as you could. After school, it was, you know, the newspapers in the evening edition, I guess. It was 21 cents a week. Imagine that. Well, after I built that first body shop and everything, I lost the wrecker that McQuaid Brothers had to pick up cars, so I had to get into some towing in order to fill the body shop, you know. So that's how I started that with an old International, and then I bought the truck I got now still in 1960 and painted it, put it all together as a tow truck, and that got started real good in the towing business because it was the biggest one around at the time. It wasn't very big now, but that's what started. And then, of course, as we went along, the requests got bigger and the trucks got bigger and the distance got shorter, you know, from here to Boston seemed to be a lot less than it was, you know, before that. Of course, everything went by rail years back, and then, of course, the trucks started to go, and we got towing the trucks from Baxter Transport and people like that. We repaired a lot of trucks that had accidents and different things. Oh, it's all together. We're not in the body business any longer, but the body business changed quite a lot. A fellow used to get a hammer and pound on a fender all day, you know. Now you can't afford to think of that. You know, the price of labor and stuff, it's a lot different. You know, I paid a good man $1 an hour, and we sold it for $3. Nowadays, a good man gets $25 an hour in the automobile business. We do truck mechanical repairs, but we got out of the body business some years ago. Everybody that worked for me passed on, and help was a problem. Yeah, it's all called from the state police or the town police or people like that. I had, throughout the years, for 10 or a dozen friends that were all state policemen somehow or other. and we got along good for a long time. And they took care of me, and I took care of them. If they had a scratch or a dent, I fixed it, quick. Probably, well, 20. We had more years ago. We had at the end of the body shop time and the repair shop, we probably had 30 or more, 35, in the body shop and in the repair shop and driving the tow trucks at that time. But now the tow trucks probably got a dozen or more, and then there's 5, 7, 10 in the repair business or so there. My son runs that. Well, one son runs the tow business, Bruce, with his son, Nathan, and then Gary runs the repair shop and the truck sales and that part of it. Alex, one grandson, and Nathan is the other. They both work there. Oh, it's a good business. It's different every day. You might go to who knows where tomorrow. God, I don't know, New York we go quite a lot, like that, or Maine or something. Today, if people have an accident down here, a lot of them have AAA, and you could get a ride home in the truck, the same as take your car home to get it repaired by somebody you know instead of somebody down here that can't do it right away anyway. But we do quite a lot of that with, say, Boston area and stuff, Framingham. Oh, I borrowed that money from Mr. Chase and Mr. Bessie at the Hyannis Trust Company at that time, and built that first building. That was $10,000. Imagine that. Boy, money was different, of course. Today the value is completely, out of hand. When you think about it, you couldn't do some of those things nowadays. It'd be too expensive, I think. I built the first building was $10,000, and I added onto it for another $3,000, and another time for $3,000. Right? And it was 9,000 feet now or something in there, maybe 10. In fact, when I was going to build that building, a salesman at the Dodge garage there, McElhaney, they said, "You'll never make any money on that street, Charlie." It was in the middle of nowhere. The woods went from there up to the Route 28. Somehow or other, Dick and Bob and I were, they used to have a gas station on Ocean Street, and of course we needed gas in the trucks that we were running from over here, and we used to buy the gas there, and we used to go down there in the afternoons and sit in the office and talk things over or whatever, and very friendly with them in those days. They gave me the opportunity to buy it. We talked to his mother and everything, and Mrs. Scudder owned it, and she said, "When you can pay me, you pay me." I said, "That's good." Thanked her, and I went on my way and built the building and everything, and then when I got the money, I went right down and paid her. Of course, at that time, you had to have some land to build on, and she had it, and the bank loaned me the money to build the building, and everybody was going good. And it didn't take long. I paid for the building and paid the bank way ahead of time. Business went good. I worked hard at it. Been 24 hours ever since I started. Because like I say, at first, not at first, but way back, I had these friends in the state police that would call me, any time of night, and it wasn't as often as today, but we used to do a lot of towing with them. And even I had friends in Falmouth, Paul Rodriguez and people like that, He was a good guy. I was a Barnstable boy. I'm going to stay here. Of course, I bought that land next door to that, and the next door, you know, kept on going to. There's over 5 acres there now. In one lump in the middle of Hyannis is a pretty good place to be. I talked to different people about going to Boston at times, you know. Well, I did do some work, a lot of work in Boston, but I didn't want to get up there, and things were, you know. Well, there was, when I was going up there was talk of Whitey getting into the tow business or somehow or other, you know. A fellow, I can't remember his name, just outside of Boston, always told me about that. And we used to tow in there every night, pretty near, with Mack or GMC or somebody like that, a Ford. There was a big Ford dealer in Mattapan, and we used to tow a lot of trucks back and forth there because they didn't fix them down here. But Boston would be tough. I had a good friend that was a captain on the police force in Division 6. Well, he was a tough guy. For a long time, there was only 2 of us, myself and Charlie Brennan. We did all the nighttime work, you know. Everything, he liked it, and we kept on going. But I never thought of getting into anything different. I don't know, probably not. Probably the population is decreasing by the looks around, I think. But then I'm not sure of that. But there used to seem so more kids around than there are now. And for one thing, one time I just happened to be looking at the buses pulling away from the school out there, and a lot of them seemed to be half full. I don't know why they would be half full leaving the school, but they were. I don't know why, but never did. That was pretty tough. My father worked for those people for a long 20 years, pretty near, and they had a lot of money. They were very close with their money, though. They didn't. He got $15 a week forever, you know, never an increase. He didn't dare quit in those days, you know, and stayed there.
Yeah.
But everybody, it was tight with everybody around over Comaquid Way. There wasn't a lot of money around over there. 2 or 3 people had it, but the rest of us didn't seem to. Oh, I don't think so right away, but that was nice that he was president. I wish he had lasted a lot longer, because it would have brought more activity to the town here, I'm sure, you know. It would have been nice for the town. One thing about wearing this hat, you know, I was playing golf about that time with a fella, Nelson there, and it was cold in the fall, winter time. Never wore a hat, and it was cold. He said, "Charlie, if you wear a hat, you'll be a lot warmer." I got one, and I never took it off since. Probably my office.
You still go to the office?
Oh yeah, every day. Well, sometimes, maybe not every day, but that's where I go. I go to the Hyannis Golf Club, of course, but that's nice. I haven't played Comaquid for a while. I have once or twice, but Comaquid's stretched out a little bit more. It's kind of hard when you don't play there very often. It used to be only 9 holes when I was there. Then they built the other 9 in the woods there. As a matter of fact, that woodlot that they bought to build a golf course on was part of that estate that those people my father worked for. That was their woodlot. People had to have a woodlot in order to keep warm in those years. That was in the 20s, you know. They had a house with, like, I don't know, 14 chimneys, fireplaces in it. Imagine. Boy, they burned a lot of wood. Yeah. Yeah, people burned a lot of wood. Oh. anything to do. I play golf, you know, a couple days a week, or 3 or something. But I go to, well, I haven't been the last year, but used to go to truck shows and all that, and the wrecker shows, and I sold tow trucks as well. A lot of them, you know, that was the best part of it for a while. Charles W. Buckler, 181 Elliott Road, Centerville. That's it.